that's going to be the wounds is probably only going to take about an hour and a half, so we'll do that in the afternoon. So it's probably going to be a bit brain this afternoon, so it'll be a bit easier. You need a little bit of brain work to do the suturing. So who here knows how to suture? I know Sheena and Bronnie do. Does anyone else here know how to suture? Nice. Yeah.
And I've got the easy study.
Oh, you have too. So when we go to do our practical, maybe if you guys, like you'll need to go into pairs, so maybe if the person that's don't put two people together that don't know suture, spread yourselves out a little bit just to make it a little bit easier. If you've got any questions throughout, please ask. I may not be able to answer them all, but I'll try my best to answer them. So we'll just kick on. So, suturing for nurses. So, as CNS we do a lot of suturing in ED, it's probably a bit of our bread and butter. There's a lot of things to remember about suturing. It's not just you go in and suture, there's a big picture that you have to remember before you even go in and start suturing. Where do I point this?
You might need to turn it on.
How do you turn it on? Oh yeah? Oh yeah. Right. So, when you're looking at wounds that you might need to close, you need to first assess the wound. And if it even needs to be closed, depending on the person's, how it happened, the fragility of the skin. So there's several different options you can look at, but you need to be aware of them before you even go ahead and suture. So the most important question you can ask is the mechanism of the wound and how it happened, because that changes how you're going to treat the wound. So for example, what I'm talking about, is it a bite? A dog or a human bite? Was it lacerated on some shellfish, glass? Was it a crush injury or just a simple knife laceration? Now, do you know I'm querying about bites and shellfish and things like that? Yeah, so shellfish and bites are really highly contaminated and they often infect. So often you always need to give antibiotics. And also often they'll do delayed wound closure on those. So we'll talk a bit about delayed wound closure later. But those are really important things that you need to think about. So we're going to talk about each of these because they're all quite important. So crush injuries, we see a lot of crush injuries in ED, trailers, cars, lots of different things. So the important thing here is that it compromises circulation. So, because especially depending on how long it's been crushed for, even if it's just a simple crush, circulation is compromised and these are slow healing. So they take a lot longer to heal than what a normal laceration would. They're a significant injury and these continue to swell up to 24 hours after the initial injury. So you've got to think about that when you're going to suture. If you suture quite a firm suture and you know it's going to swell, one of those stitches could bust or the skin could break, causing compromise to the skin and just having huge problems. So that's something you need to be aware of when you've got a crush injury. Bites. So human and dog bites are the most infectious. Even though cat bites and bird bites or animal bites, you still need antibiotics for all of them, but specifically for animal, human and dog bites. These also need to be washed out horrendously. So you can never wash out a wound enough. We'll talk about wound washing after, but that's really important with bites as well. But they always need antibiotics, and often you will not always suture these bites. You often will either leave them and just leave them open, or do delayed healing, delayed suturing and get them back 48 hours later. Only thing with that is on the face. You always suture on the face. No matter what it is, you always suture on the face. You just need to wash out properly and give antibiotics. The reason for that is the face is infected for some people, so you need to stitch it up and not leave it open. Okay?
What was it about the face?
The face always has to be sutured no matter what you've been lacerated by, whether it be a bite. So bites often you'll leave and do delayed closure, but always on the face you suture.
No matter how big it is.
Yeah, no matter how big it is, you always suture on the face. Yeah. So positions, the position of the wound can make a difference to how you suture and what you suture with, and the method that you use, and we'll talk about the methods later. So obviously on a big gaping leg wound, you'll either use staples or a bigger suture size, rather than where on the face or the eyelid you use a littler size, and we'll talk about those later. The other thing you need to remember about when, say, on a hand or a foot, if you've got a laceration, it's really important to, say if it's often you get punch lacerations, and they come in like this, don't they, when you see the wound. You always need them to change the position of how they injured their hand or their foot. Because with tendons, when you're looking and examining the wound, what happens is they might be like that and just have a little bit of tingling and you think, oh, it's not a big deal. But when they go like that and you can see the tendons, it could actually be lacerated, but you're not going to see it at that view, are you? You've got to always look at it at the view that they injured themselves, because there's often a laceration there, but it's hidden because their hand's extended and you don't see it. Timing for suturing, there's a lot of talk about this. They say 6 hours is the prime time to do suturing, to suture it up, because anything longer than that there's a high chance of infection because the wound's been open. But in saying that, we still do it 24 hours later. Just depends on, like we work in ED, it depends on, we'll often go talk to the doctor and see what they say, but 9 times out of 10 they'll still suture it, it'll just have a good washout and it will need antibiotics. The thing is though, you need to tell the patient that it may not heal as well because they've left it for so long, and often the closure is not going to be as great, so they need to know that and be aware of that if they still want it sutured. Foreign body. So often we get a lot of people in with foreign bodies, with laceration, glass, wood, lots of different things. The thing with foreign body is you need to examine the wound. You need to have a good look inside. Often there's lots of blood and stuff, and when you're cleaning it out, you need to have a look. X-ray, we often X-ray with foreign bodies, but the other thing is that wood and plastic do not come up on X-ray. So, with wood and X-ray, often what the docs do now, they get the ultrasound out and you can see it on ultrasound. But then again, that doesn't always mean, if there's definitely a foreign body in there, it doesn't always mean you're still going to see it. You might just see a bit of a shadow on ultrasound. So often what they do is if they think there's definitely a foreign body, orthopaedics will come down and have to have a look at it, because if it's a really small speck, especially a small piece of glass, they often won't try and get it out because the damage of going in to try and get something out in the hand or the foot where there's lots of tendons and nerves and things often causes more problems, and they say it often will not cause any problems or it will wean its way out. So if it's a very tiny speck that they see on X-ray or ultrasound, they often will just leave it, but if it's a significant size you need to get those out, otherwise it's just going to cause infection and problems. The other thing you need to think of is effects of healing. So when you're contemplating a wound closure, you need to think, so is this person old? What comorbidities do they have? Are they a diabetic? Are they immunocompromised? Is there going to be long-standing problems? And blood supply is another really important thing to think about. They've got like PVD, or not that blood supply is PVD, but like if it's a lower limb, are they a hard farming worker? Are they going to have their leg up? 9 times out of 10 they're not. I stapled a man's big leg wound 2 months ago and I said, you need to be off work, you need to be on crutches. He didn't, his wound broke down. He's from Wyndham actually. His wound broke down, and you can only do so much and tell people, but it was a significant wound and honestly it needed to be done. But you've got to think of all those things, because people won't always do what you tell them to do, and you've got to think of the best option for them, and it's not always suturing. The other thing is tetanus is really important, so make sure that they're up to date with tetanus. We say 10 years, if it's a really dirty wound, I say 5, and give them another one within 5 years. And if they are a child, so we've got lots more people these days that aren't immunising their children, and so if they haven't had that, then they need the immunoglobulin, you need the 3. So in ED, it's real difficult to get that, so often we just have to send them back to their GP because it's such an issue. Children can't even get it sometimes, so. But that's really important, especially kids that aren't immunised, to look at that. It's not always, it depends, like, if it's just a wee minor leak, it's, I suppose, not a big deal, you still need to give them the information, but if it's down to the bone, or if it's a really dirty wound, it's really, really important that they get that. So, now we're going to talk about the choices of methods. So, there's lots of different ways you can suture someone. It doesn't have to necessarily use sutures. You can do nothing. You can just leave it open if that's by secondary intention healing, if that's the case, if they're an elderly person, if they don't want to be sutured, that's their choice, you know. And we often do that a bit with elderly people, fragile skin, if it's just a small lick. You've got your steri strips, which we use a lot in kids, and the Dermabond glue, which we use a lot too with children because obviously it's not as traumatic on the child. Then you've got your staples, your sutures, and a combination of both. You can use staples and sutures. I often use glue with steri strips or glue with sutures. I often use that a bit as well. So do you guys all know what the staples look like, the glue look like, anything like that? Right. So these are our staple guns that we have in MD. Apart from you guys,
what's the new?
So we've just changed to Dermabond and it's called, it starts with L, I can't actually remember the name. And the Lucasine. Now the difference with that is one, it's cheaper, so that's Dermabond's 40 something, yeah. But the good thing with this is it doesn't sting. It doesn't sting for kids. The elasticity and the sticking and stuff's all the same really on research. We know we've used it in what their research has shown. But also it doesn't, you know how with Dermabond, have you used Dermabond, do you?
No, I was on the table for the new stuff.
Yes. Yeah, so Dermabond, once you crack that vial, you've got about 10 or 15 seconds. It's such a quick amount of time to be able to put it on the wound and then it dries up, whereas this doesn't dry up. You can use it, you can leave it for half an hour and go back and it's really good.
Does it dry on the wound at the same speed though?
No, it does. It dries it once it's out of it because the way the nozzle is, it's quite a funny wee nozzle and you've got two different nozzles you can put on it. So whilst it's in the container, it's fine, but it still only takes about 2 minutes or so to dry on the skin, the same as the Dermabond.
What's the price difference?
I don't know the price, but I know it's cheaper, but I don't know the actual price of it.
That's good, it doesn't sting.
It doesn't sting, which is great.
And it's more viscous compared to Dermabond, so it doesn't like shoot when you use
Yeah.
it in the face.
Eyes and stuff.
Yeah. So this can go around, you've probably seen these. These are staples. We use these quite a bit. We're going to talk about how you use that, but that's the stapler. And then you've got your different types of sutures. So we've changed sutures, but the colouring is the same. So Ethalon is your non-absorbable, so these are the ones that need to be removed, and the new ones are green coloured as well. So Ethalon's green, so non-absorbable.
That's the one that we use more of those.
Yes, yep.
And
yep.
the sizing is all the same?
The sizing is all the same, yep, it's all the same, it's just again cheaper. The one thing I have to say about the new stuff is it's got better memory, so what I mean by that is when you go to tighten it, it doesn't loosen up, whereas this tend to do that. And absorbable, there's a couple of other different types, but we're just going to keep it simple today, is Vicryl, which is purple, and again, the new stuff, same sizing, same colour, is purple. Yeah.
So could you use a combination, like if you had a deeper wound, you'd use the absorbable,
Yes.
and then use that one?
Exactly. Yep, we're going to go through those soon, but yes, definitely. And especially for like novice, like when you first suturing, there's mattress and vertical, which are used really good for deep suturing, but when I started, I always used double deep tissue because I didn't really know how to do horizontal mattress. And so often you do deep tissue if you needed to, and then put the other one on top. But yeah, we'll go through that anyway. So the principles of wound closure. So when you do a wound closure, you've got to remember why are we closing the wound, you know? Well, we do it the thing you need to remember is you need to minimise your tissue handling. So when you're going to suture a wound, the best thing to do, first thing you can do is look at it and see, how am I going to close it? How deep is it?